What's happening, folks? You know, one thing I don't understand in today's political arena of identity politics and whatnot is how is it that feminists stand on the side of transgenderism? And I ask that because, from my perspective, and I'm not sure how other people aren't seeing it, but I kind of feel like the whole transgender movement is in its own way misogynist. Um, I'm not saying that it outwardly just hates women, but it's done things that have, in its own way, tried to put women down, right? So, for instance, the whole changing of just what the word woman means, or them trying to change what the word woman means, that in itself is disrespect, right? That you're trying to take the word women away from women and give it to men as well. That's one. Then you take things like mother, that's not birthing person. You can't do breastfeeding, that's chest feeding or whatever. So you're taking away words that pretty much tie, motherhood and womanhood to who she is, because apparently there's guys who feel insulted about that, and not a single feminist is saying it, but well, the feminists who are, I guess they're being labeled certain things and they're being made to seem as though they're transphobic, but you guys are misogynist. Let me go further with it, right? A couple years ago, I was watching this video on. I probably mentioned this before in another one of my videos, but it was uh, it was a video or a series on Netflix, and it was called 100 Humans, and they were doing a sort of a series of studies and surveys and whatnot that do problem solving things, dance things, a whole bunch of different things, tests, mental fortitude, physicality, and whatnot. And they would judge it based off of age range, height, weight, and all that. But at the beginning of it, they split them up into two groups of 50 men, 50 women, right? Now, let's say in a total of 100%, right? The 50 women, each woman counts for 2% towards that 100, right? But apparently, a couple of gentlemen raised their hands, and they identified as women, so they went over to the women's side. So now you take 50 women, and instead of all 50 being women, now 10 of them are men. And now you're doing a survey based off of women, but not all of them are women. But somehow those 10 men are being included, and their stats are being included into a survey based off of women. You understand? I'm not understanding how stuff like that, doesn't get pointed out and by feminists say this is anti-feminism. Now, then you have, I mean, going towards the sports and the bathrooms. That's a whole other argument, which I think plenty of people have argued it enough on their own. So I'm trying to go towards other points, right? Another major factor is young girls. Now, on both sides of the fence, when you're younger, when you're a kid, when you're a teenager, you're more easily influenced because everyone's trying to find their groove and everyone's trying to fit in. You have all, can't say you have a hard time, but generally speaking, most people, most kids are trying to fit in with their groups, right? You have your few kids here and there who don't mind liking what they like and aren't going to get bullied out of it, but those kids are usually, again, they're few, and for the most part, kids want to fit in. With girls will go an extra length to try to fit in, especially if there's feelings involved, right? How many guys have had their way with a girl back in high school, back in their early 20s, whatever, just because they said a couple of the right things and that girl just wanted to be liked by the guy? How many girls have done things that they normally wouldn't do, but they want to fit in with this crowd, with this group or whatever, and so they'll do certain things. We see it all the time. You get news reports about it all the time. So if a girl who has a low self-esteem could be influenced into, sex with a dude, and she ends up pregnant in high school. What's to stop her from being influenced by the new trend? Because the new trend is LGBT and trans. And I call it a trend because that's how it's been treated. You know, some people grow up and they figure they like men instead of women. Some women figure they like women instead of men. That happens. But when you the way it's being done is to trend it. Is they're trying to normalize it, and it's becoming a trend. And when it's a trend, there's people who jump on the bandwagon just because it seems like it's something new and exciting, or whatever, even if they don't entirely understand it. You know, I remember having friends who they liked rock and roll, but because the majority of our crowd was hip hop kids, they'll give hip hop a try, even though they didn't really care for it. Hip hop was a trend; they went with it, right? Um, so LGBT is a trend, transgender is a trend. You get this girl who she's got this group of friends, and they all think they might be lesbians or bisexuals and all that or whatever. And then she starts dating a girl, just like with a guy. Um, the she may be easily influenced by what that girl she's dating, asks of her. So if the girl that she's dating happens to maybe want someone that's more masculine, that girl who is easily influenced may decide, you know what, I need to chop my girls off. I need to do something down there. It's just where I'm more presented as a male. The only problem is when you're 14, 15 to 16 years old, anyone that's an adult at this point that's been through high school, and I can tell you, most of the time, those high school relationships don't last. I would love to say that I ended up marrying the girl that I was dating in high school. She was a wonderful girl, but that's not just simply not what happened, right? Most people don't have it like that. So high school love is usually pretty fleeting. So you have this girl who she's hanging out with certain people and she's dating around, and this one girl that she's dating, she thinks she really likes the girl, somehow convinces her, not, and maybe not intentionally. It may not have been intentional. It may have just been like, I think I like guys more, and then the other girl was like, well, maybe if I make look more like a guy, maybe she'll like me more and not go with guys, and shit happens. It it sounds far fetched the way I'm saying it, but women, y'all know, as young girls, y'all have done things that were stupid just to fit in. And then, in the end of it, the girl realizes, oh, she made a terrible, terrible mistake. She got her breast removed, and maybe now she can't breastfeed. Maybe she got hysterectomy, and now she can't have kids. Like, that doesn't help anybody out. And I'm trying to figure out how come the feminists aren't inflamed by this shit. How come it's the men that are doing more of the speaking up? Now, I mean, I know why guys are speaking up. It's frustrating. It's annoying. If you have a daughter, I can only imagine how infuriating it is when your wife gave birth to your daughter, and the doctor's like, yeah, we can't put a gender on her. She hasn't decided her gender. And you're like, what? You went to school for medical shit, for biology, to deliver humans. You can't tell me the difference between a boy and a girl when that child is born? What? I would have a conniption. But from the female perspective, now, what happens is men are generally more pragmatic, whereas women are usually more empathetic and compassionate. Um, Not to say one or the other is better because of it, but because women are more compassionate, they're a little bit more lenient and more open-minded towards certain things, whereas most guys see things for how it is and see things realistically. So there's going to be more women who are going to be more open to accepting people who are trans and people who are going through all their little mental whatevers, whereas a lot of guys we're not buying the bullshit. Because at the end of the day, you'll never see a woman on the NBA team. You're never going to see a starting lineup for any NFL team be women. Why? Because there's a lot of money that goes into these players, and no team owner is going to dump millions of dollars into players that are just going to get trampled over, destroyed, and now they have to pay for all their hospital bills and whatnot because they were a bunch of women thinking they're going to stack up to these 6'8" guys, and they all got ran over. I was on a football team, and one of the first games I ever went to, we were already losing. We were getting blown out. We were getting destroyed. And I don't know if maybe the coach was like, well, fuck it. We're doing terrible as it is. Let's put the JV team in. Because on the punt return, They put this kid Irving. Now, I was never that big of a guy, but I was at least tall. Not super tall, but I think 5'10" is a pretty decent height. Irving was not 5'10". Irving was maybe 5'2", 5'3". He was not. He was a short kid, and he was a skinny kid, skinnier than me. And when you see a bunch of dudes running down on someone who's not even 120 pounds when wet, it looks terrifying. Oh my god, it looked terrifying. And you know, they loved it. They said, what the fuck is this little guy doing on the field? Let's all dogpile his ass. That's what would happen. Now imagine a bunch of women lined up on a football field. And this is the reason why men we're not intimidated, or we don't feel any threat when it comes to women transitioning, because no offense to women, but you'll never be accepted in the men's league in any way, shape, or form the way men are. Men in themselves aren't always accepted. Like there is a trial and error. There is that brotherhood that's built when you're dealing with men. Men have to accept each other, and if we have a hard time accepting each other, we're not accepting a woman who is not a man. You know, so on that end, the woman is losing again. So you have women losing in sports on their side. You have women losing in sports on our side. You have teenage young girls who may be influenced to go this way for one reason or the other. You have the many words have to do with motherhood and womanhood being stripped away from women. How is none of this infuriating for feminists? Essentially, y'all have been reduced to makeup and hair, or just a word. Because if I decide that I identify as a woman, the trans community sees me as a woman. I have all this bass in my voice, the fucking the beard. It won't matter for shit. If I say I identify as a woman, I'm a woman. You can't say shit about it, right? Apparently that's how it works, which is insane. It is insane. I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to put on hair and makeup. I am saying reduce it to makeup and hair because essentially they are being reduced to superficial parts. But all I really have to say is I'm a woman. I identify as a woman, and apparently I gotta be believed as such, which is again nuts, And then you'll have an idiot who be like, "Well, were you gonna check my genitals to make sure?" I think you don't have to look at my genitals to know that I'm not a woman, right? I think anyone who sees these videos can guess. Never mind, I'm not gonna go into details, but that I'm not a woman, right? Whereas, like, you go on a train. Take the train in Manhattan, Brooklyn, whatever. On that train is gonna be a bunch of women. Now all of them will be in makeup. Some of them will be a lot less clean than the others, but you will clearly be able to tell that one's a woman, the next one's a woman, without makeup or whatever. It's just women are just women, and I can't for the life of me understand how is it that the feminist movement hasn't gotten frustrated, hasn't stood up against it. Maybe it's because you know what it is. I think it's because both of y'all want to be on the left. Both of y'all want to be like on the side that's anti-Trump, and because of that, you're seeing a common enemy instead of realizing where your own differences are and how y'all differences are in conflict with each other. Because in actuality, the trans community and the trans movement is in conflict. What their goals are in conflict with what the feminist movement is. Take away, the idea of, female empowerment being sexuality, because that's not what it is. Female empowerment in general is not a bad thing. But if you're saying men can now be women, then what's the point of female empowerment, right? I think it boils down to that. I'm willing to have this conversation with other feminists if they're not gonna rah tear my head off, whatever. I'm very easy to speak to. I think I would like to say that I'm a personable individual. So if you got an opinion to share it. If you want to leave it in a comment, I will get to it in the next video if I can. Pardon my delay in these videos. I just got over a flu kind of in the last week or so. And yeah, now I'm getting back in health, so I kind of mad at myself because for that week I Haven't been working out because I was sick as a dog. But now back in my groove, so back into the workout. Today is my my workout session. So there's that. Other than that, like I said, enough. Till the next video, guys. Y'all be well.